After completing a no-hit run on release, and then discovering how broken and unbalanced the game actually is, I wanted my next challenge to be something a bit more lighthearted and fun. So today, we'll find out if you can beat Halo Infinite with only grenades. The rules are pretty simple. As long as I only use grenades to attack or deal damage, everything is fair game. In saying this, I enable some skulls to make the run more fun, and also some to make it more possible. I of course added I Would Have Been Your Daddy and Grunt's Birthday. I also added Catch, Boom, Cowboy, Cowbell to make the run a bit more unpredictable and fun. And like I just said, Bandana to make it a bit more possible. Skipping most of the cutscenes and sawing my way through the mandatory tutorial, the run begins. Here's a quick summary of my skulls again, and also my difficulty, which was unmentioned until now, and is heroic. 2 feet in and I accidentally mistake shoot for grenade, and have to restart. In another life, I put the fear of God into my first pack of grunts. This experience was euphoric. It was a breath of fresh air to be able to play and not only take damage, but also absolutely dominate the monkeys that had put me through so much punishment. For the first while, I favoured the spike grenade, as their chaos inspires a life on the edge type of gameplay, as you never know when you might accidentally get hit by your own spikes. I think most people understand the grenades in Halo, but in total there are 4, the frag, plasma, spike, and dynamo grenades. Frag is a typical grenade. Plasma sticks to enemies and some surfaces. Spikes stick to enemies and some surfaces as well, but explode into bouncing spikes. And Dynamo does AoE shock damage and stuns enemies in place, and also disables some vehicles and other equipment. I power tripped through a few more beginning rooms and came to the command room, or engine room. What is this room? This is where tension and anxiety rob me of my euphoria. Can you blow up the engine coils in this room, and the ones reused all throughout the whole game, with grenades? Well, yes you can. No worries, mate. So anyways, moving on. Only stopping to send this brute to the moon, I blew up the second engine and ran for the exit. The physics engine throws me a curveball by throwing me as the curveball, but I survive. I show the physics engine that I too can play ball, by swiftly taking the lives of these innocent and unrelated beings, and stylishly performing a seemingly infinite backflip into the second level. Still fueled by a little bit of bloodlust, I made sure to expunge my feelings in this solo elite, and then was immediately reminded that this is indeed heroic. I took the opportunity here to make sure grenades can kill phantoms. They can. This will be important for later. I nearly smashed this grunt's face in out of habituation, and then punched forwards into the level. This death made me both happy and sad that I activated Cowboy, but like Cowboy again. And then again here when hubris caused me to flex early instead of moving. For anyone curious, I'm a PC gamer through and through, but for this challenge I opted for controller, as keyboard quickly caused some RSI from grenade spamming in my hands. I think it was also about here when I realised the immense power of dynamo grenades. Does this elevator give anyone else motion sickness? Oh yeah, I definitely realised their power. Now is when it is written that I should explain that I did use my equipment, even though you have already seen me use my grapple hook 100 times by now. Next up was Terminus, and just like any other playthrough of Halo Infinite, he was ridiculously easy. For most of this playthrough, I used the dynamo grenades, which punched a hole in another idea I had, shock damage only, because I realised the gameplay would be remarkably similar. So instead of pointing out when I use dynamo grenades, just assume I always do, and I'll point out the interesting times when I don't use them. Despite how powerful it was, explosions, turrets, phantoms, and high-ranking banish still put me in my place throughout the run. But after clearing the LZ, then the FOB, then Cortana's baby's first RPG map tutorial, it was time for the tower. This was not my favourite, if I'm being honest. I rescued some UNSC to help out, which is also the first time I didn't use the dynamo grenade since last time I brought it up. I shocked the banished by ending the lockdown, then dying, then ending the lockdown again, dying again, but this time to my own grenade, and then again, then activating the gravity lift, and then I begun to slay the Spire. Jocklock is probably the easiest boss in the main story in my opinion, and as such goes down with a combination of dynamo and spike grenades. I checked to see if grenades can help me put this Spartan out of his misery, but they can't, and I zip my way to the dig site. I'm well aware of the vast powers of glitch and skips in this level, as well as the ones in previous levels that I haven't used. I just didn't want this run to be too easy or short, and I wanted the bosses to be the highlights of the run, and these glitches skip most of the bosses. But in saying that, this level is mostly just destroying coils, then running to a boss fight. So let's skip to Bassus. The biggest danger here is myself, as any stray grenade would blow up a nearby fusion coil and send me straight to Sergeant Johnson faster than I can say Bungie is supreme. But on my third attempt, Achillimoy was pretty much kneeling to me, which I like to think in his warrior code means he went straight to hell. Moving on, we dived headfirst into another Forerunner themed level. The run was going well. Too well, maybe. I couldn't help but feel something would hard put this run to bed like a child caught staying up on his Nintendo Switch. But it wouldn't be this level, because I sent the drones straight to Bassus, accelerated this brute on his great journey, phased out of existence on this elevator, and realized I should have saved my Slay the Spire reference until the level aptly named the Spire. Here we face hunters for the first time, which as always take 100 grenades to kill, so 500 grenades later and we can enter the Spire. This scene of me spamming my grapple shot against the wall is honestly the most interesting thing that happened in this level. But nonetheless, I made Guilty Spark tolerate me for once, and like the baby he is, he lashed out in insecure projection. As you can see, the dynamo grenades were actually useless for once, but that was neither here nor there because 2 deaths and a few plasma grenades was all it took and Guilty Spark was down. Next up, our Pelican has been shot down by some anti-air guns, so we have to go shut them down. They were nothing special. There wasn't much stopping me from grappling in and ignoring most of the enemies, destroying the pylons or whatever and running away. The second one was a little bit harder, but it wasn't anything some dynamo grenades couldn't handle. However, this grunt snuck a ghost into the cutscene. On the way to the third AA gun, I gave this brute the biggest colonoscopy of his life, also ending his life, and at the third gun they had some hunters and Ongoy's champion quarterback, but inevitably the gun falls and I continue on my merry way. Finishing off this glorious level are two brute bosses that are hunting surviving Spartans in the ring. Honestly, neither of them were very hard, and I marched straight to the next one. Now, because 343 thought it was an awesome choice to send us around the map just to interact with the terminal here and there, they decided to do it again in the very next level, except this time across a much bigger part of the map. These beacons have nothing special about them. Some brutes, some phantoms, some hunters. This part is so boring in fact, that while editing this video, I realized that in my no-hit run I actually said there are 3 beacons when there are in fact 4. I just missed it in my editing because the footage all looks the same. But I do return to Slay the Spire 2, gain early access, and begin clearing the floors. For the Gondola section, I use my strategy of hiding underneath. When I reach the other side, I try to ego on the built-up sentinels, but I'm quickly shown the efficiency of synthetic life. Next time I run to the exit, but turn around and try to recover my damaged ego, and surprise, die again. After experiencing what can only be described as a Halo ego death, I accept my place in the universe and move forward. After collecting some power seeds and surfing past some sentinels, it was time for a brand new boss, in the form of a reused boss. He went down first try and even faster than the last time, so let's move on. This room was originally part of the run I initially thought wasn't possible, but if we think back to earlier, we already saw grenades can take out phantoms, and as such, it caused all 3 phantoms to flee for their life. Interesting that they ran away instead of exploding. The next section allows some creative grapple shot usage, generously allowing me to skip quite a few hallways and staircases, and skip straight to skipping the next level. You see, I actually do enjoy the next level, but there's absolutely no incentive to not just walk all the way to the end of the level and start the next one, so that's what I did. The next level has me fighting in gladiator-style arenas that are probably the most creative part of this game. That said, it is still 60% banished junk. Here's how most of this encounter went, and here's how most of the second encounter went. There was a pair of spicy red noodle soup hunters that put me in the dirt a few times, but I was able to stand on this pelican and secure my sweet revenge. Third to last boss was up next. Jager is very similar to Choc, except he pauses the fight intermittently to run away and waste my time. But shitty camouflage or not, he goes down with very little effort. Immediately after defeating Jager is Escharum. Escharum seemed to be made of rubber this playthrough as he kept bouncing around unpredictably. But after some pylons, a few deaths, and a bouncy grenade, Escharum goes to draw his big spoopy gravity hammer and bunks his head on the roof and dies. Final level and final boss. I'm going to take some time during these repeating hallways to rant about an opinion of mine that no one asked for. This final level is a really disappointing final level for Halo. You have some really great final levels throughout the series with Warthog sections and iconic bosses, but this level adds absolutely nothing new. And honestly, the last boss could have probably just been the first boss of the next game or something. Okay, sorry, back to the game. Enemies spawning in thick batches and skinny hallways really was a time save in this fight. I actually wasn't sure how grenades would work on the final boss, but dynamo and plasma grenades were quite the trick. I even managed to skip straight from the first phase to the last phase with a good physics bonk on the boss, but she was able to kill me. Twice. But thanks to a cheeky plasma grenade, I was able to skip the rest of her life, sending her straight to the afterlife, and proving that you can indeed beat Halo Infinite with only grenades. The Halo physics engine is really quite a treat, and it continues to entertain me into my adulthood, no worries. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, it helps a lot. See ya.